tell your past self who is growing up, what advice would you give her?
Probably don't think it's so easy. But I've learned that as I've gone along. Yeah, I mean, just be thick skin, really. It is a tough job, and there is a lot of people out there that do want to see you fail, but there's also a lot of people that do want to see you get on well. But you've also got to learn and take constructive criticism.
Tying perfectly into my next question, I was going to say, because it is such a tough sport, how do you stay focused? And then, you know, if you get those thoughts of wanting to give up, how do you push past those and keep going?
I think the thing is, it is like a roller coaster, and your emotions are constantly up and down. You know, you can have a very, very bad day, and the next day can be brilliant. It's just weird, you know. And I think the thing is, if you have had a bad day, it's to go home and learn from it. Whereas before, when I first started riding, I used to beat myself up about it a lot, and just, you know, go into the next day being negative. But I think, you know, by the time you've watched all your replays and learned, you can move on, and just think tomorrow is going to be another day, and it's going to be a better day. But you know, everybody's in the same boat, all of us are, and yeah, it's tough. Just think you can't take it to heart. So yeah,
no, definitely agree. When you watch your replays, do you take notes like on paper? Do you write that down, or do you just watch it and then put it to bed, prepare for the next day?
Yeah, I just watch it and put it to bed. And I think the likes of, if you've been beaten a head or a neck, that's always something that you could have done differently, because it's within a stride. Whether you've gone too soon, whether you've gone too late, I think those are things that you've got to learn from. But yeah, we're all learning still.
What is your experience being a woman in racing?
Personally, my experience has been fine. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I loved it. It is a bit of a rough and ready sport, whether you're male or female, or if you're even stable staff or a trainer, it is tough. But the rewards, you know, they are special when it does work out well. You know, at the end of the day, you're working with animals. I have obviously experienced a little bit of sexism, but that was when I was first starting off. I had I'd been on a horse for 5 days, jocked up on it, and the day of the race day came and the horse didn't run. Didn't know why, and it was because the owner had found out that it was a female jockey was on it, and obviously didn't want to use me. But that was the one and only time. And obviously, like, it's nice, you know, when you're going out in the crowds, sometimes they're like, oh, it's a female jockey, wow. I used to get a lot of that, whereas now it wouldn't be a big deal, because there is so many of us about, and it is increasing.
If there was like a young girl who wants to become a jockey but was worried about sexism in the industry, what advice would you give them in your own personal experience?
There's not too much advice I can give them, because I don't think there is. I think probably back 10 years ago there was probably sexism, but I haven't experienced it for years, so I couldn't really, you know, if they felt uncomfortable, I try and explain that there isn't any. You know, it's just tough anyway. If there's a lot of young lads that don't make it, you know, it's not just girls. So
have there been any recent changes towards women in the sport, or is it now, by what you're saying, I assume it's kind of all kind of good now, but are there any other changes that have happened recently? Or
just that there's a lot more of us. Obviously the changing rooms have got bigger, which is nicer. You know, no, I think I said it about 5 years ago. There's going to be a lot more female jockeys, and give it another probably 10 years, we're not even 10 years, I'd say now we're going to be 50-50 boys and girls. It's taken us a while to get there, but we're definitely on the way.
What is your favorite thing about racing, the whole sport in general?
My favorite thing is, I always think, well, for me personally, when I was a kid, I got into racing because of the love of horses. And I always think that's the same for the boys and the girls, and the stable staff at home, when they're looking after their horses, they're doing that because it's pure love. And when they see their horse win, whether it's a big race or a little race, seeing their emotion and their hard work, it's paid off for them, you know. And you know it, they're with the horses every single day. We're on them for 5 minutes, if that. So yeah, it's rewarding to see that side of it as well.
And you've got horses of your own as well, haven't you?
Well, my mum has, yeah. She's
Ah.
got about 20, so she's in Devon and I'm in Newmarket. So every time I go home, it's not really a break. She's always dragging me out on one of the horses.
Oh wow. So would you, I mean, I suppose you haven't got time now, but when you do have time, would you get a horse of your own?
Oh, definitely, yeah, I will, for sure. I do. I love racing, but I miss the show jumping and the dressage and the cross country. I do miss that a lot. So yeah, normally when I do go home, I do manage to steal one of mum's horses and do a bit of jumping. But it's I'm a bit rusty because it's a different type of riding again as well. Riding long, I'm not used to it. But yeah, I definitely will. Bit of fun, get a couple probably.
So does your mum have eventers then?
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she does. Obviously, she's got a livery yard. She taught me to ride, and she teaches kids to ride. But yeah, she's got a few little eventers that she goes out the weekends and has a bit of fun on.
Oh wow, nice. So is show jumping your favourite discipline aside from all the others?
Yeah, I do. I love show jumping. I didn't like the dressage. And I do love the cross country, but mum always said you had to do the groundwork and the slow work before you go jumping. So yeah, I did enjoy show jumping.
Would you ever become a trainer in the future?
No.
No.
No, I don't. I have so much respect for trainers because they have a lot of patience to do it. And it's, you know, it's very hard. You know, I think I'd enjoy helping out, maybe being a trainer's assistant or head lad or head lass, that's something like that. But I think there's a lot of pressure on trainers, a lot, and especially nowadays with the racing and the horses getting a lot better. You know, it's, yeah, I don't think I'd have the patience for it.
So when you retire then, have you got any ideas of what you'd like to do? Perhaps TV or then just assisting?
Not really, no. The thing is, I've always had a plan. I've always known what I wanted. So no, I think I'm not far off 30. So I mean, I don't know. I probably need to sit down and think about what I want to do next.
Take each day as it comes. And
Exactly.
what I wanted to ask you was, when you're at the races, I suppose you're so focused on the day, but when you've got cameras and people wanting to interview you, how do you because I suppose you're wanting to stay focused on the races, how do you then kind of have the calm within you to talk to the cameras and the interviewers?
I think it kind of comes with the job. When I had my first few interviews when I was an apprentice, I was terrible. I was just like, wow, that's amazing. And so I actually went and got some social media training at the racing school, and I felt like I've learned a lot from that. But I do think the more interviews you do, the better it is. And it's quite hard as well if you've just ridden a winner to come in and your blood's pumping and the adrenaline's going through you, so you just don't want to say anything too stupid, so you've just got to take a breather and calm down. But yeah, I think it's funny because it's kind of expected, it's a part of the job. So you just got to get used to it, I suppose.
That's cool that they teach you that at the racing school. So is there like a separate module, I suppose, that you can go into to work on, I don't know, talking to camera and stuff?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so it's like literally a day course. I actually done one when I was an apprentice, so that's just comes free with the course, and then I decided to go back a few months later and do another one, and it was just one-on-one, camera stuffed in my face. But yeah, no, they're really good.
When you're doing stuff through the racing school, what is that like? Like what else do they offer? Because I know obviously with the riding, but you said there's a lot more to it than just riding.
They do literally everything at the racing school: maths, English, the whole lot, which is good because I'm terrible at maths as well. But no, and they do the side of blood stock. They do babies, like the whole lot there. But it's you know, like I said, it's different riding, which it took me I'd say a good year to get used to riding with my irons up and riding short and balance. And you know, with a dressage horse and a show jump horse, you're taught to kind of hold them together, whereas if you do that with a race horse, it wants to go faster, so you've got to learn to relax and settle them.
When you have your stirrups right up, how high is it? Because obviously I suppose it's not right to the top, but is it like in between, right, your feet right up and then normal riding?
I'd probably be a bit shorter, so like jockeys, they all ride different lengths, but I'd say my knees would almost kind of be touching on the top of the saddle, not to lean on the saddle, but yeah, it's all to do with balance and I don't know, I'm not very intelligent, but to do with like weight and balance and stuff, so to help the horse.
I suppose you have to have a really strong core to hold yourself in place when your irons are right up for balance. Would you say that?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I think it's, yeah, I suppose when I first started doing it, my legs definitely got very tired. And like my first ride, when I got off, my legs were like jelly. I couldn't walk. But I think it's just different strengths. So if I'd ride long now, even like cantering or doing show jumping, I'll be like absolutely knackered and my legs will be aching the next day. So it's just different muscles.
Yeah. And with like styles of riding, you know, you can either be I was going to try and do it then, but I'm sat on a chair, like a bit more up, or you're closer to the saddle. Would you not want to be more streamlined and closer to the saddle to go faster, or is it just about your own personal preference of where you find comfortable?
Yeah, I think basically they teach you at the racing school to sit like a martini glass. Oh. So you think these are your arms. It's really, you got to imagine it. You got to draw it out like a martini glass. You got your back straight. But that's the basics. And then I think from there you do create your own style and ride how you're comfortable.
So they teach you all of that. That's interesting, because now I can see it like a martini glass. It makes sense.
Yeah, so that is the aim. But obviously we're all different shapes and sizes, so we're not all going to look the same.
And when you're in like jockey school, are you always riding short, or does it vary sometimes?
It does vary, obviously, when you're in the indoor arena and walking and trotting, you'll ride long. But as soon as you're ready to canter, they like to teach you, pull your irons up, and get balanced. But obviously, you know you're perched right above the horse. So yeah, it's definitely finding that balance and how you're comfortable.
This might be a stupid question, but is every young person that goes through the jockey school, have they had previous riding experience, or do you get some people that just really want to be a jockey, they don't know where to start, so they just join?
Yeah, a lot of them that I was on the course with, they'd never sat on a horse. It's interesting. I think you know, a lot of the male jockeys, if you spoke to them as well, probably didn't start riding until they were like 16, 17, because they were sat watching racing at home or having a gamble as a kid, and they're like, oh, I want to do that. But I think sometimes that's the best way to learn, although they're not like completely natural. They're just learning from scratch and they haven't got any bad habits. So they're just taught to put your irons up straight away and, you know, learn where your balance point is. But yeah, a lot of the lads race riding now wouldn't have been riding very long.
Wow, I didn't know that. I always assumed that perhaps like yourself, you know, had horses at home, started young. That's really interesting. Yeah. What's the first thing you're taught, if you can remember, the first thing you're taught when you go to the jockey school?
The first thing I remember was you've got to hold your reins in a bridge.
Yeah.
So in both hands and bridge it over the whole time. Whereas obviously show jumping and dressage, you don't. You complete. So and that was the first thing I was like, oh, how are you meant to steer the horse and how are you meant to get control? But you know, the horses like having your hands pinned to their necks. And the same is as well, if they buck, that bridge is going to stop you from going over their head. But yeah, that was probably one of the first things. I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this, but I'm used to it now. Now if mum's like, oh, you've got to ride with a single hand, I can't do it.
Have you ever been, well, I'm sure you have, been taken off on a horse when you can't stop?
Yes, it's scary. Yeah, I have actually a couple times. I think there's a difference with a horse being keen and kind of trying to go faster than you want. There's a difference because you know you can stop them if you wanted to. Whereas if a horse decides it's going to bolt and you've got absolutely nothing, you are just a passenger and you have to just sit and suffer until they stop. And they can run a bit blind, can't they? They can end up in rails or hedges and stuff, which, you know, it's not very nice. Some horses don't have that self-preservation. You know, I'd say you ask any jockey, it's probably happened to them.
How do you stop then when they do that? I know you said you're a passenger, but do you have to turn them into something to stop them?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, ideally you want to be turning them, but I think if they've decided to go and they're completely gone, you have to almost wait for them to get like tired and stop themselves and break their stride. I have seen a few jockeys bail out, which I would not have the bottle for. I think that takes a lot of bottle to bail out of a horse going 45 miles per hour. So yeah, I don't think I'd want to do that. I think I'd just have to sit and suffer and see what happens.
Before I go and ride out, I just want to have like a good knowledge of what I'm doing, because the chances are I'm probably going to be on something that doesn't stop. So yeah,
it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that very often. I think the horses, they're in training every single day and they're going up the gallops every single day. So if they do run off, they know where the end is and they are going to pull up. Most of the time they know the routine. But yeah, I mean, look, it very rarely happens. I think we've all got run off with, but most of the time they do stop for you at the end.
And am I right in saying to stop them, you put your weight backwards slightly?
Yeah, you kind of just, yeah, they call it the swinging. Yeah, obviously, it's not all about brute strength. But yeah, you just got to try and play with their mouth a bit, take a pull. And I mean, I think the thing is, you know how to ride. So you'd be all right. You'd pick it up soon enough. It would just be riding short. That's the bit you probably struggle with to start off with.
Yeah, because I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but I've got quite big from dancing, quite big calf muscles and leg muscles. So I get really bad cramp when I jump. I put my stirrups up, but the cramp I get is just unreal, and then I have to really stretch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't even have to be a dancer.
What's funny is my mum always taught me to bridge my reins. I didn't know why, but she's always taught me that. What race would you like to win, which you haven't already?
I get asked this all the time, and it'd probably be the Derby. I think it is, you know, it's at Epsom. It's one of the trickiest tracks to ride, and if you get a horse that handles it, it's good fun. And obviously it's one of the biggest races out there, like one of the world most known. How many females have competed in it? Actually, I think Hayley probably has. I'd have to go back and have a look, but yeah, I think it would be the Derby for sure.
So what's your goals then for this year, would you say?
Every year I kind of want to get more winners than the last year before. So yeah, obviously just ride as many winners as I can. Obviously it would be nice to be back riding in listed races and group races. But yeah, just I think most jockeys' goals are as many winners as you can in the year, sort of thing.
Do you plan this out with your agent before the season starts, your goals, what you want to do and stuff?
Yeah. So normally we kind of sit down or have a phone call like this, and yeah, so we'll just go for like what trainers we're gonna aim for the summer and who we want to ride out for, who will use us, and give us the best opportunities and chances, and go from there really.
And lastly, ones to follow for the season coming up.
Okay, I thought Ray Dawson would be one to watch. He absolutely flied. Obviously, if was flying, he's had an injury. He's out on injury at the moment, but he'll be back soon enough. And obviously he's getting support from everywhere, but a lot from Roger Varian. He's in there riding out. David Egan, he's just had a very big winner. I think he's with Roger Varian as well, so he's going to fly this year. This would be a big year, it should be. Holly Doyle, who's already flying and has been for the last however many years. So she's definitely one. I'd love to see her be champion jockey for sure. She really deserves it. And Mark Priyan, he's just moved to George Bowie's in Newmarket. And I think his 7 wins from 10 rides or something ridiculous, his last few rides. So and obviously he claims as well. So I think he'll fly this summer.
Oh, exciting. And actually, this is just a question that I want to ask. How do you personally keep up with all the racing that's happening? Like, do you have like to watch it all the time, or do you just get the results up?
If I'm at home and I'm not racing myself, I'll try and watch it. In the winter on the all weather is mainly like the same horses running kind of most weeks, so you know most of them. But yeah, in the turf season when there's like 3 meetings on a day, I'll and I can't keep up with it, I'll either try and watch the replays or I'll just look at the Racing Post results later on.
I just wondered because, you know, if you're busy riding and you've got to travel to all these places, how do you keep up with everything? But then I guess with technology now, you can just get up on your phone.
Exactly, yeah, and they have all the replays and everything. So yeah, you can more or less keep up with it all.
Fantastic. Well, you'll be pleased to know that is all my questions.
Well, thank you very much. I really enjoyed that.
That's all right. Thank you so much. It's been really great.
Cool. Thank you very much. Take care.
And you. Bye.